Welcome to the sleep route. If you are ready to fall asleep, please fasten your seatbelts. Before we hit the road, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, press the like button if you like it, and leave your comments in the comments, and let's start our story. Imagine yourself not here in this cab with the hum of the engine and the distant city lights, but many, many centuries ago. Close your eyes if you can safely, and let the gentle sway of this truck become the subtle rocking of a small wooden boat on the Nile. The air, instead of the conditioned breeze of the cab, is cool and carries the faint scent of damp earth, a promise of the rising sun. You're waking up, not to an alarm, but to the soft chirping of birds beginning their morning chorus, and the distant, muted bleating of a goat. The first sliver of dawn is painting the eastern sky in hues of soft pinks and oranges, casting long, wavering shadows across the reeds lining the riverbanks. The Nile, that magnificent, life-giving artery, lies before you, its surface still and reflecting the nascent light like polished bronze. This is the heart of ancient Egypt, a land born from the annual embrace of this grand river. Think of the farmers, those quiet souls, whose lives were so intrinsically linked to the pulse of the Nile. Their days began with this same gentle awakening, a slow uncurling from sleep on mats, woven from papyrus, perhaps a rough-spun linen. The small mud-brick homes, cool within their thick walls, would slowly release their warmth as the sun climbed. The air would thicken with the aroma of freshly baked bread, a simple, unleavened flatbread cooked over a small fire fueled by dried dung or sparse brushwood. Children, still rubbing sleep from their eyes, would stir, their soft murmurs blending with the quiet movements of their parents preparing for the day. The family's few possessions, perhaps a clay pot for water, a wooden stool, a handful of simple tools, would be neatly arranged within the humble dwelling, a testament to a life lived in close communion with the earth. The sounds of the morning were not the harsh clamor of modern machinery, but a symphony of natural rhythms. The gentle lapping of the river against the bank, the rustle of date palm fronds in the morning breeze, the distant lowing of cattle being led to pasture, the almost imperceptible sound of sand shifting in the desert wind. These were the constants, the lullabies of a timeless existence. The earth beneath their bare feet, cool and damp from the night's dew, held a deep connection for them. It was not merely soil. It was the gift of the Hapi, the river god, the essence of their survival. Every clod of earth, every budding shoot, was a direct blessing, a link to the divine forces that governed their world. As the sun fully emerged, a golden orb ascending into the clear blue sky, the farmers would begin their trek to the fields. These were not vast, geometrically perfect expanses, but irregular plots, often small, shaped by the contours of the land and the whims of the previous year's flood. The path might be a narrow track worn smooth by generations of footsteps, winding through groves of date palms, or past small canals dug to bring the precious water further inland. The air would grow warmer, the sun's gentle caress turning into a steady warmth. The light, however, was never harsh, not yet. It was soft, illuminating the subtle greens of emerging crops, the deep ochre of the fallow earth, and the glistening silver of the remaining puddles left by the receding floodwaters. Imagine the feeling of that rich, dark silt beneath your toes. After the annual inundation, the Nile would retreat, leaving behind a layer of incredibly fertile black mud. This wasn't just dirt, it was the very lifeblood of their civilization. It was soft, almost buttery, when still damp, and held the promise of abundant harvests. The farmers, men and women both, would move with a quiet purpose, their movements economical, ingrained by generations of practice. Their tools were simple: a wooden hoe, perhaps tipped with a stone or copper blade for tilling the soil, planting stick for creating neat rows, a woven basket for carrying seeds. There was no rush, no frantic pace, only the steady, deliberate motion of preparing the land. The quiet sounds of the morning hoe, the rhythmic thud-thud as it broke the soil, would become another comforting layer in the soundscape of their day, a gentle counterpoint to the distant call of a bird or the murmur of the river. The rhythm of their lives was dictated entirely by the river. The Akit, the season of inundation, when the Nile overflowed its banks, was a time of rest for the land, a period when the earth was renewed. Then came the Pare, the season of emergence, when the waters receded, leaving behind the fertile silt, and the farmers sprang into action, planting their crops. Finally, the Shemu, the season of harvest, when the sun-baked fields yielded their bounty. This cyclical dependence on the Nile shaped their beliefs, their rituals, their very understanding of time. Every sunrise, every receding flood, every harvest was a reaffirmation of the divine order, a whisper from the gods that all was well, that life would continue its predictable, reassuring course. The air would be thick with the scent of damp earth, the almost sweet smell of new growth, and the subtle, earthy perfume of the river itself, a constant reminder of the gift they received, year after year, with unwavering reliability. This quiet industry, this deep connection to the land, was not a burden, but a way of life, passed down from parent to child, a legacy of sustenance and survival. The children, even at a young age, would be involved, helping with small tasks, learning by observation, absorbing the wisdom of the earth through their very pores. They would chase away birds, gather fallen dates, or simply watch, their young minds absorbing the ancient rhythm that would one day become their own. The community was tightly knit, bound by shared labor and a common destiny. Neighbors would assist each other during planting and harvest, a communal effort that strengthened the bonds between them. The gentle murmur of voices, the occasional soft laughter, would drift across the fields, blending with the sounds of the natural world, creating a tapestry of peaceful coexistence. The sun would climb higher, its warmth growing more insistent, but the work continued, steadily, without haste, a slow dance with the fertile earth. As we drift onward, letting the miles unfold beneath our wheels, let us now turn our thoughts from the anonymous farmers to a figure whose name, though steeped in the mists of antiquity, still resonates with a quiet power. Imhotep. Imagine for a moment the early dynasties of Egypt, a time when the pharaohs were striving to establish their enduring legacy, to build monuments that would speak of their power and their connection to the divine for all eternity. It was a time of burgeoning ambition, yet the methods were still rudimentary. The pyramids, those colossal testaments to human ingenuity and belief, were yet to reach their perfected form. It was in this crucible of nascent grandeur that Imhotep emerged, a man whose genius would forever alter the architectural landscape of ancient Egypt. Born, perhaps, into a family of modest means, or perhaps of scribal lineage, the exact details of his early life are lost to the sands of time. What we do know is that he rose to prominence during the reign of Pharaoh Djoser. Sometime around the 27th century BCE, Djoser was a visionary king, and it was his desire for an unparalleled tomb, a monument that would transcend anything seen before. that provided the canvas for Imhotep's extraordinary talents. Before Imhotep, royal tombs were typically mastabas, simple, rectangular, flat-top structures made of mud brick, modest affairs compared to what would follow. Djoser, however, envisioned something grander, something that would literally reach for the heavens. Imhotep, the polymath, was not merely an architect. He was a vizier, the highest official under the pharaoh, a physician whose medical texts were studied for centuries, a scribe, and possibly even a priest. His mind was a nexus of knowledge, a rare confluence of practical skill and theoretical insight. His greatest architectural achievement, and the one that cemented his place in history, was the step pyramid at Saqqara. Imagine the sheer audacity of the concept. Instead of a single, flat mastaba, Imhotep proposed a series of mastabas, decreasing in size, stacked one atop the other, creating a colossal staircase reaching towards the sky. This was not merely an aesthetic choice. It was a profound symbolic statement, a stairway for the pharaoh's soul to ascend to the celestial realm. The construction of the step pyramid was an undertaking of unprecedented scale and complexity. Thousands of laborers, not slaves, as is often romanticized, but skilled craftsmen. Farmers fulfilling their civic duty during the inundation season, and a vast support staff would have been involved. Imhotep's genius lay not just in the design, but in the meticulous planning and organization required to execute such a monumental project. He was the first known architect to use hewn stone on such a grand scale. Before him, construction was primarily with mud brick, a less durable material. The decision to use cut stone to quarry, transport, and precisely fit massive blocks was a revolutionary leap in engineering. Imagine the sound of chisels striking stone, the rhythmic chipping, the shouts of men as they hauled immense sledges laden with blocks across the desert floor. These were not loud, frantic sounds, but the steady, enduring echoes of human endeavor. The step pyramid complex was not just the pyramid itself. It was a vast funerary enclosure, a veritable city of the dead, designed to facilitate Djoser's eternal journey. It included temples, courtyards, and various structures, all built with the same precision and foresight. Imhotep's understanding of mathematics, geometry, and structural engineering must have been profound, allowing him to calculate the immense stresses and strains to plan for stability and longevity. The sheer scale of the project would have been astounding to the people of the time. Imagine approaching this nascent wonder from afar, seeing its terraced profile rise majestically from the desert, a man-made mountain reaching for the heavens. It would have been a sight to inspire awe, reverence, and perhaps a quiet sense of wonder at the capabilities of the human mind. The legacy of Imhotep extends beyond architecture. As a physician, his medical knowledge was so advanced that he was later deified as a god of medicine and healing. Equated with the Greek god Asclepius, patients would seek healing at his shrines, leaving offerings and praying for his intervention. His understanding of anatomy, diagnosis, and treatment was remarkably sophisticated for his era. Imagine the quiet consultation rooms, perhaps in a temple precinct, where he would calmly assess ailments, apply poultices, or prescribe herbal remedies. His methods were rooted in observation and logical deduction, rather than purely magical incantations. Though the line between medicine and magic was often blurred in ancient Egypt, he understood the intricate workings of the human body with a clarity that was centuries ahead of its time. His role as a scribe also highlights the intellectual power of ancient Egypt's elite. Writing, the art of hieroglyphs, was a sacred and powerful tool. Imhotep would have mastered this complex system, painstakingly carving or painting the intricate symbols that preserved knowledge, recorded history, and communicated with the gods. Imagine the quiet scratch of a reed pen on papyrus, the smooth flow of ink, the deliberate formation of each symbol, a silent testament to the enduring power of the written word. His mind, capable of grasping both the practicalities of construction and the abstract complexities of language and healing, was truly extraordinary. The Step Pyramid stands today, a silent sentinel in the desert, a testament to Imhotep's enduring vision, marked a pivotal moment in Egyptian architecture, laying the groundwork for the true pyramids that would follow, culminating in the wonders of Giza. His innovations, his revolutionary use of stone, his grand designs set a new standard for monumental construction. For the people of ancient Egypt, Imhotep was more than just a talented individual. He was a bridge between the mortal and the divine, a man blessed with wisdom and foresight. His story, though ancient, reminds us of the quiet power of intellect, the enduring impact of a single visionary mind, and the profound human desire to build, to create, and to leave an indelible mark on the world. The echoes of his genius still resonate across the millennia, a soft whisper carried on the desert winds, inviting us to contemplate the quiet magnificence of human achievement. Let us now turn to another profound mystery, a quiet enigma that has watched over the sands of Egypt for millennia, a silent guardian embodying the very essence of ancient power and inscrutability. The great Sphinx of Giza. Imagine, if you will, the desert night, the air cool and still, the vast expanse of stars overhead, each a tiny pinprick of light in the inky blackness. And there, against the backdrop of the colossal pyramids, sits this majestic creature, part lion, part human, its gaze fixed on the rising sun, a silent sentinel of a bygone era. It has witnessed countless dawns, countless sunsets, its stone features weathered by the relentless wind and sand, yet retaining an undeniable, almost hypnotic presence. The very purpose and symbolism of the Sphinx are steeped in a quiet mystery. It is believed to represent the pharaoh, perhaps Kafir, whose pyramid rises behind it, embodying strength, wisdom, and the divine right to rule. The lion, a symbol of ferocity and power, merges seamlessly with the human head, signifying intellect and royalty. But beyond these interpretations, there lies a deeper, more elusive meaning. Is it a guardian of the necropolis, protecting the eternal sleep of the pharaohs? Is it a cosmic alignment, a terrestrial marker pointing towards significant celestial events? Or is it a more personal, spiritual representation of the pharaoh's journey into the afterlife, his transformation into a divine being? The answers remain shrouded in the desert whispers, carried on the ancient winds. Consider the sheer scale of its creation. Carved from a single massive outcrop of limestone, the Sphinx is immense, standing over 20 meters high and stretching 73 meters in length. Imagine the sculptors, their tools, simple chisels and hammers, slowly, meticulously shaping this colossal rock, revealing the form within. The work would have been arduous, precise, requiring immense patience and a profound understanding of the stone itself. The rhythmic tapped up of their tools against the rock, the clouds of fine limestone dust rising in the desert air, the slow, deliberate unveiling of the creature's form. These were the sounds of its birth, a quiet symphony of human effort and artistic vision. It wasn't a rushed project. It was a slow, methodical revelation, a testament to the enduring power of human will and artistry. Over the millennia, the Sphinx has endured the relentless passage of time. It has been buried almost entirely by sand on multiple occasions, its grand features slowly consumed by the shifting dunes. Imagine the expeditions over centuries, the quiet determination of those who sought to uncover it, to reclaim it from the desert's embrace. The arduous task of shoveling, digging, and clearing away mountains of sand, revealing bit by bit the colossal pause. The majestic body, the serene face. Each rediscovery would have been a moment of quiet triumph, a reaffirmation of the Sphinx's enduring legacy. Even in its buried state, its presence must have been felt, a subtle emanation of ancient power beneath the shifting sands, a silent whisper from the past. The enigmatic smile, or perhaps a slight smirk, on the Sphinx's face has captivated observers for centuries. Is it a smile of profound wisdom, of secret knowledge held within its ancient stone? Is it a serene acceptance of its timeless vigil? Or is it simply the natural curve of the stone, given an almost sentient quality by the human imagination? These questions linger, adding to its allure, inviting contemplation rather than providing definitive answers. The Sphinx does not speak in words, but in the quiet resonance of its presence, in the silent questions it poses to all who gaze upon it. It encourages a different kind of understanding, one that transcends mere facts and delves into the realm of intuition and wonder. Archaeologists continue to explore the area around the Sphinx, seeking clues to its mysteries. Subterranean passages, hidden chambers, and undiscovered secrets are often hypothesized, adding layers to its mystique. Imagine the quiet tension of an archaeological dig, the meticulous removal of layers of sand and debris, the careful sifting of earth, each shard of pottery, each fragment of bone, a potential piece of the puzzle. The air would be filled with the subtle sounds of digging tools, the hushed conversations of researchers, the careful handling of ancient artifacts. It is a slow, painstaking process, requiring immense dedication and a deep respect for the past. Each discovery, no matter how small, adds another brushstroke to the vast canvas of its history, deepening our understanding while often revealing even more questions. The Sphinx is more than just a monument. It's a gateway to the past, a silent witness to the rise and fall of dynasties, to the ebb and flow of human civilization along the Nile. It stands as a reminder of the enduring power of belief, of the desire to connect with the divine, of the profound human impulse to create something timeless, something that transcends the limitations of mortality. Its quiet gaze seems to hold the accumulated wisdom of millennia, a serene, unchanging presence in a world of constant flux. As the desert winds sweep across its weathered form, carrying grains of sand from distant dunes, one can almost hear the soft whispers of forgotten rituals, the murmurs of ancient prayers, the echoes of a civilization deeply attuned to the natural world and the mysteries of the cosmos. The Sphinx remains a profound symbol of Egypt itself, enigmatic, and forever wrapped in a veil of quiet wonder, inviting us to simply observe, to contemplate, and to let its timeless presence wash over us in the soothing silence of the night. It asks nothing of us but our quiet contemplation, offering in return a sense of peace and a connection to something truly ancient and profound. Meanwhile, elsewhere in their world, Far removed from the dust of the fields and the chisel strokes on monumental stone, existed a contrasting society, the quiet, ordered world of the Egyptian elite, particularly the pharaoh and his royal court. Imagine for a moment the serene splendor of a royal palace, not a bustling, noisy place, but one where every movement, every sound, was imbued with a quiet dignity and purpose. The air would be thick with the subtle scent of exotic incense, drifting from ornate censers, and the faint, sweet perfume of lotus blossoms arranged in delicate vases. The walls would be adorned with exquisite paintings, depicting scenes of nature, gods, and the pharaoh's triumphs, rendered in vibrant, enduring colors, their stillness adding to the tranquility. The pharaoh, the divine ruler, lived a life of profound ritual and measured movements. His day would begin not with the sun's first light on the fields, but with a more orchestrated awakening. Attendants, moving with soft footsteps, would prepare him for the day, their actions precise and reverent. The finest linen garments, soft against the skin, would be draped upon him, along with elaborate collars of gold and semi-precious stones. Each piece of jewelry, each ceremonial item, carried deep symbolic meaning, silently affirming his connection to the gods and his role as the embodiment of order. Mad, the sounds within the royal chambers would be hushed. The soft rustle of fabric, the gentle clinking of golden ornaments, the quiet whispers of trusted advisors. Consider a royal meal, a moment of quiet ceremony rather than boisterous feasting. The pharaoh would dine not on rough bread and Nile fish, but on a bounty of delicacies brought from across his kingdom. Plump figs, sweet dates, succulent pomegranates, and rare vegetables would be laid out on polished wooden tables. Tender cuts of roasted gazelle or waterfowl, carefully prepared by skilled chefs, would be presented on fine pottery or even golden plates. The wine, often sweet and fragrant, would flow from elegant alabaster jars. Servants, moving with silent grace, would anticipate every need, their movements so practiced as to be almost imperceptible. There would be no loud discussions, no hurried movements, only a quiet appreciation of the abundance, a testament to the pharaoh's prosperity and the fertility of his land. The royal gardens would be oases of calm, designed for contemplation and gentle recreation. Imagine strolling through a meticulously planned garden, shaded by tall date palms and fragrant acacia trees. Pools of water, shimmering with lotus blossoms, would reflect the clear blue sky, their surfaces occasionally disturbed by the gentle ripple of a fish or the soft landing of a bird. The air would be filled with the gentle buzz of bees, the distant murmur of fountains, and the sweet scent of blooming flowers. This was a place for quiet reflection, for gentle conversations with close advisors, or simply for the pharaoh to commune with nature and the divine in tranquil solitude. The pathways would be soft, perhaps paved with smooth stones, inviting a leisurely, unhurried pace. The education of the royal children and the elite would also be a quiet, rigorous process. Scribes learned priests, and skilled tutors would impart knowledge in subjects ranging from hieroglyphic writing and mathematics to astronomy and statecraft. Imagine the quiet intensity of these lessons, the scratch of reed pens on papyrus, soft rustle of scrolls being unfurled, the low, steady voices of instructors explaining complex concepts. The children, poised and attentive, would absorb the wisdom of their ancestors, preparing themselves for lives of leadership and responsibility. The air of scholarly pursuit would be palpable, a gentle hum of intellectual activity that shaped the minds of the future rulers and administrators. Even the exercise of power by the pharaoh was often conducted with a quiet solemnity. Decisions concerning the welfare of the kingdom, matters of justice, or the planning of monumental projects would take place in hushed chambers, surrounded by a few trusted officials. The pharaoh's pronouncements, when made, would be delivered with a measured gravity, each word carrying the weight of divine authority. There was a sense of profound responsibility that permeated the royal court, a quiet understanding of the intricate balance required to maintain the cosmic order. The very architecture of the palaces, with their grand courtyards and lofty halls, was designed to inspire awe and quiet reverence, to humble those who entered into the presence of the divine ruler. The music of the elite would be gentle and melodic, unlike the louder, more rhythmic music of the common folk. Imagine the soft strumming of a harp, the gentle pluck of a lyre, the ethereal notes of a flute. These instruments would create a soothing ambience, perfect for quiet contemplation or subtle entertainment during a royal banquet. The songs would often recount myths, glorify the gods, or praise the pharaoh, their lyrics imbued with poetic grace. The performances would be understated, designed to enhance the peaceful atmosphere rather than to excite. It was music to soothe the soul, to accompany quiet reflection under the soft glow of oil lamps. The life of the pharaoh, though one of immense privilege, was also one of continuous ritual and deep symbolic meaning. Every act, from his daily ablutions to his participation in religious ceremonies, was designed to maintain the harmony between the human and divine realms. It was a life lived under the constant gaze of the gods, a quiet performance of sacred duty. The luxury was not for ostentation alone, but to reflect his divine status, to ensure the prosperity and stability of the entire land. This quiet, ordered existence at the apex of society was a stark yet harmonious contrast to the rhythmic toil of the farmers, both essential threads in the vibrant tapestry of ancient Egyptian life, each playing their part in the enduring peace of the Nile Valley. As we drift onward, letting the quiet journey continue, let us return to the fertile fields along the Nile. But this time, in the vibrant, purposeful season of Shemu, the harvest. Imagine the air, no longer cool and damp with morning dew, but warm and dry, carrying the earthy, sweet scent of ripening grain. The sun, a golden orb, hangs high in the clear blue sky, its warmth a constant presence, ripening the crops to a rich golden hue. The fields, which once displayed the delicate green of young shoots, are now a sea of swaying stalks barley and emmer wheat, tall and heavy with their precious kernels, ready for collection. This is the culmination of months of patient toil, the moment when the earth finally yields its bounty, a quiet celebration of sustenance. The sounds of the harvest are not loud or jarring, but a symphony of gentle, repetitive actions. The soft swish of sickles cutting through the stalks, a rhythmic, almost meditative sound. Farmers, men and women both, would move methodically through the fields, their bodies bent in practiced motions, their hands deftly gathering the grain. The sickles, often made of wood with flint blades or later bronze, would flash briefly in the sunlight as they cut, each movement precise and economical. There's a subtle creak of baskets being filled, the rustle of dry stalks, and the occasional soft hum of a song sung quietly to lighten the labor. The atmosphere is one of focused industry, a collective effort that binds the community together in a shared purpose. Imagine the feel of the dry stalks against your skin, the golden dust of the grain settling gently on your clothes. The sun warms your back, a constant reminder of the life-giving energy that has brought this harvest to fruition. The air is dry, carrying the faint, almost nutty aroma of the ripening cereals. As the cut stalks are gathered, they are bound into sheaves, each bundle a testament to the hard work and the generosity of the land. These sheaves are then carried either on the backs of the laborers or loaded onto donkeys to the threshing floor, a hardened circular area, often near the village, where the grain will be separated from the straw. The entire process is a graceful dance between human effort and natural abundance, a quiet acknowledgement of the cycle of life. The threshing itself is another rhythmic activity. Imagine oxen, or sometimes donkeys, being driven in a circle over the spread-out grain, their hooves gently treading upon the stalks, breaking the husks and releasing the kernels. The air would fill with a finer dust, the golden chaff separating from the heavier grain. The sound is a soft, continuous rustle, the quiet shuffling of hooves, and the occasional soft call of the person guiding the animals. After the initial treading, the process of winnowing would begin. Imagine the farmers, standing in the gentle breeze, tossing the threshed grain into the air, using large, shallow baskets. The lighter chaff would be carried away by the wind, leaving the heavier, precious kernels to fall back onto a clean mat or cloth below. It's a simple, elegant method, relying on the natural elements to complete the separation, a quiet interplay between human ingenuity and the forces of nature. The sight of the golden grain, clean and ready, piled high on the threshing floor, would have been a moment of quiet satisfaction, a visual representation of their success. This grain was not just food, it was their wealth, their sustenance for the coming year, their ability to pay taxes, and their assurance of survival. It represented continuity, the promise of another cycle. The aroma of the newly threshed grain, a richer, more concentrated version of the field's fragrance, would fill the air, a deep, comforting scent of earthy richness. Children, too, would be part of this process, perhaps helping to gather the stray kernels, or simply playing at the edges of the threshing floor, their laughter a soft counterpoint to the sounds of labor. The day would end as it began, with the gentle descent of the sun, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and purple. The laborers would slowly make their way back to their homes, their bodies tired but their hearts filled with a quiet contentment. The fields, now shorn of their golden bounty, would lie fallow, awaiting the next inundation. The tools, carefully cleaned, would be put away, ready for the next season. The smell of grain, however, would linger in the air, in their clothes, in their homes, a constant comforting reminder of the earth's generosity and their own resilience. This quiet, continuous cycle of planting, nurturing, and harvesting was the bedrock of ancient Egyptian society. It was a rhythm that had endured for thousands of years, passed down from generation to generation, a testament to the timeless wisdom of working in harmony with the natural world. The harvest was not just a season of work, it was a sacred time, a period of profound connection to the Nile, to the land, and to the gods who ensured its endless fertility. The quiet sounds of the morning hoe, the rhythm of the harvest season, these were not merely tasks, but deeply embedded rituals, shaping the very fabric of their lives, ensuring their survival, and weaving a tapestry of quiet, enduring peace. Let us now turn to a figure whose name echoes through history with a particular blend of allure and quiet tragedy. Cleopatra VII Philopator is the last active pharaoh of ancient Egypt. Imagine her, not as the flamboyant, dramatic queen often portrayed, but as a ruler deeply immersed in the complexities of her declining kingdom, navigating a world on the brink of profound change. Her reign from 51 to 30 BCE was not one of triumphant expansion, but of quiet diplomacy, strategic alliances, and a desperate struggle to preserve the independence of her ancient land against the looming shadow of Rome. Cleopatra was not Egyptian by heritage. She was of Macedonian Greek descent, a member of the Ptolemaic dynasty founded by one of Alexander the Great's generals. Yet she embraced Egyptian culture more fully than her predecessors, mastering the Egyptian language, rare feat for a Ptolemaic ruler, and participating in traditional religious ceremonies. Imagine her moving through the opulent yet ancient halls of the palace in Alexandria, a woman of profound intellect and quiet determination, fluent in multiple languages, engaging in philosophical discussions, and meticulously studying the political currents of her time. Her brilliance was not loud or ostentatious. It was a quiet, strategic acumen, a sharp mind at work behind a calm facade. Her relationships with two of Rome's most powerful figures, Julius Caesar and Mark Antony, were not merely romantic entanglements, but carefully calculated political alliances. With Caesar, she sought to restore Egypt's influence and secure her throne. Imagine their quiet discussions late into the Alexandrian night, as they strategized and negotiated a quiet exchange of power and ambition. The birth of their son, Caesarion, was not a public spectacle, but a quiet hope for a dynasty that would merge Egyptian and Roman power, a dream that ultimately proved fleeting. Her departure from Rome after Caesar's assassination was not a dramatic flight, but a measured retreat, a silent recognition of shifting tides. Her subsequent alliance with Mark Antony was a more passionate, yet equally strategic bond. Together, they represented a formidable challenge to the rising power of Octavian, Caesar's adopted son. Imagine the quiet confidence she exuded, the calm strength with which she supported Antony, not merely as a lover, but as a political and military partner. Their court in Alexandria, though lavish, would have been a place of intricate political maneuvering, hushed conversations, and careful planning. The shadow of Rome, however, grew longer, casting a quiet pall over their ambitions. Cleopatra understood the immense cultural and symbolic power of Egypt. She meticulously cultivated her image as a living goddess, embodiment of Isis, an earthly manifestation of divine authority. She participated in public festivals, wearing traditional Egyptian regalia, her presence designed to inspire reverence and loyalty among her people. Imagine the quiet awe in the faces of the crowds as she passed. A living link to the ancient gods, her calm demeanor a testament to her divine right. This was not a flamboyant display, but a carefully choreographed act of subtle power, reinforcing her legitimacy in the eyes of a deeply religious populace. The final act of her reign was a quiet, desperate struggle. The Battle of Actium, a naval engagement that sealed her and Antony's fate, was a devastating blow. Imagine the quiet despair that must have settled upon her in the aftermath. The realization that the ancient kingdom she had fought so hard to preserve was slipping away. Her retreat to Egypt and Antony's subsequent downfall led to her final, poignant act. Her death, often depicted dramatically, was a quiet, deliberate choice. Facing capture and public humiliation by Octavian, she chose her own end, reportedly through the bite of an asp, a symbolic death linking her to the divine and preserving her dignity. Imagine the quiet final moments within her chambers, the hushed preparations, the calm resolve in her eyes. It was an ending not of spectacular battle, but of profound personal agency in the face of insurmountable odds. Her death marked the end of an era, the last breath of independent pharaonic rule in Egypt, the land that had cradled dynasties for millennia, that had given birth to pyramids and temples, now quietly became a Roman province. Cleopatra's legacy is complex, often overshadowed by romanticized tales. Yet, beneath the layers of legend, she emerges as a brilliant, pragmatic, and resilient ruler who fought fiercely, and often quietly, to protect her homeland. Her story is a poignant reminder of the ebb and flow of empires, the quiet struggle for self-determination, and the enduring power of a single individual's will against the relentless tide of history. Her quiet reign, though ultimately unsuccessful in its primary goal, remains a testament to her intellect, her resolve, and her quiet dignity in the face of an encroaching, all-consuming power. Her story settles into the vast tapestry of ancient history, a quiet whisper of a queen who faced the inevitable with profound grace. Let us now turn our attention to one of the most profound and beautiful cultural explorations of ancient Egypt, the system of hieroglyphic writing. Imagine a world where symbols were not just pictures, but a complex, living language, imbued with sacred meaning and used to communicate with gods, record history, and preserve the deepest thoughts of a civilization. For centuries, these intricate carvings and paintings on temple walls, tombs, and papyri remained a silent enigma, a closed book that held the secrets of an entire culture. The ability to read them was lost, and their mysteries beckoned across the millennia, a quiet challenge to the curious minds of future generations. The very word hieroglyph comes from the Greek for sacred carving, testament to their profound religious and ceremonial significance. They weren't just a utilitarian script. They were an art form, each symbol meticulously crafted, often in vibrant colors, to convey not just words but also beauty and reverence. Imagine the ancient scribes, with their reed pens and palettes of black and red ink, meticulously applying these intricate symbols to papyrus scrolls, or the stone carvers, with their chisels and hammers, slowly and carefully incising them into the hard rock of temple walls. The quiet concentration required for such work, the rhythmic scratch of pen on papyrus, or the gentle tap-tap of chisel on stone, would have filled the ancient scriptoria and workshops. For nearly 1,500 years after the last hieroglyphic inscription was carved, their meaning was lost. Scholars and adventurers gazed upon them, fascinated but frustrated, seeing only beautiful pictures without understanding their profound linguistic structure. This was a quiet sorrow for historians, a vast library of knowledge locked away, tantalizingly out of reach. Imagine the quiet frustration, the endless speculation, the persistent yearning to unlock these ancient whispers. The silence of the hieroglyphs was a heavy one, a barrier between the living and the profound wisdom of the dead. Then, in 1799, came a discovery that would quietly revolutionize our understanding: the Rosetta Stone. Imagine a seemingly ordinary stone slab, unearthed by Napoleon's soldiers in the Nile Delta, bearing three different scripts: ancient Greek, Demotic, and hieroglyphic. At first, it was simply an intriguing artifact, but a quiet realization slowly dawned upon scholars. If the same text was written in three different languages, one of which was understood, then perhaps the others could be deciphered. This was the key, the quiet whisper that promised to unlock centuries of silence. The task of decipherment was not a sudden, dramatic breakthrough, but a painstaking, methodical process that unfolded over 2 decades, while many brilliant minds contributed. But it was the quiet dedication and linguistic genius of Jean-François Champollion that finally cracked the code in 1822. Imagine Champollion toiling away in his study, surrounded by ancient texts, comparing, hypothesizing, testing, and retesting. The long hours, the countless sleepless nights, the quiet moments of despair, followed by sudden flashes of insight. He recognized that hieroglyphs were not purely ideographic, but also phonetic, a crucial distinction that had eluded others. He carefully matched the known Greek names, like Ptolemy and Cleopatra, with their hieroglyphic counterparts, slowly building a phonetic alphabet. The moment of his breakthrough must have been a profoundly quiet one, a sudden clarity after years of arduous work. Imagine the feeling of finally seeing the symbols coalesce into words, then sentences, and then entire narratives. It was like hearing the voices of the ancient Egyptians for the very first time after a silence of over a millennium. The world of ancient Egypt, previously a mute tableau of impressive monuments, suddenly began to speak, revealing its stories, its beliefs, its daily life, and its profound spiritual journey. This decipherment was not a loud explosion of knowledge, but a gentle unsealing of ancient secrets, a slow, methodical opening of a vast reservoir of understanding. The implications were immense. Suddenly, the inscriptions on the temple walls were not just decorative art, but historical records, religious hymns, and personal narratives. The papyri, once indecipherable scrolls, became letters, legal documents, and literary works, revealing the nuances of daily life, the complexities of their bureaucracy, and the richness of their literature. We could read their prayers, their curses, their medical texts, their love poems. The decipherment of hieroglyphs didn't just unlock a language, it's unlocked an entire civilization, allowing us to connect with the ancient Egyptians on a deeply personal, intellectual level. The process of learning hieroglyphs, even today, is a quiet, meditative pursuit. It requires patience, attention to detail, and an appreciation for the subtle interplay of sound and image. Imagine a modern Egyptologist poring over texts, tracing the contours of the symbols with their fingers. It's silently articulating the sounds and unraveling the layers of meaning. It is a quiet dialogue across millennia, a whispered conversation with the long-dead scribes and pharaohs. The great Sphinx, the pyramids, the temples, they were no longer silent monuments. They began to speak, revealing their purpose, their dedications, and the names of those who built them. The quiet whispers of the desert suddenly found their voice through the language of eternity, a timeless connection forged by the dedication of a few quiet scholars. The decipherment of hieroglyphs is a testament to the enduring human desire to understand, to connect with the past, and to break through the barriers of time and silence, revealing the profound richness of a world long gone. Meanwhile, elsewhere in their contrasting society, within the quiet confines of the royal court, existed another fascinating aspect of elite life: the practice of ancient Egyptian medicine, particularly as performed by the pharaoh's own physicians. Imagine, if you will, the serene and often hushed atmosphere of a royal clinic, perhaps within the palace grounds or a temple precinct. Here, the pursuit of healing was a blend of meticulous observation, empirical knowledge, and a profound understanding of spiritual beliefs, all conducted with a quiet reverence for life. The pharaoh's physician was not merely a healer, but a highly respected member of the elite. Often a priest as well, possessing extensive knowledge recorded in ancient medical papyri. These texts, like the Ebers Papyrus or the Edwin Smith Papyrus, were not loud proclamations, but carefully inscribed scrolls detailing treatments, diagnoses, and anatomical observations, all with a quiet precision. Imagine the physician, perhaps a calm and measured individual, consulting these ancient texts, their fingers tracing the hieroglyphs, absorbing the wisdom of generations of healers. The quiet rustle of papyrus, the soft murmur of incantations, or the measured tones of a diagnosis would fill the treatment room. Consider a diagnostic session. The physician would not rush, but would calmly observe the patient, examining their pulse, listening to their breathing, carefully noting their symptoms. The air might be thick with the subtle scent of medicinal herbs or the cool, clean smell of water. There would be a quiet, almost reverent atmosphere as the physician carefully palpated areas of discomfort or perhaps inspected wounds. Their understanding of anatomy, though not based on modern dissection, was remarkably advanced for their time, gained through observations of injuries, mummification practices, and perhaps even some limited surgical procedures. They knew about the importance of hygiene, wound care, and the setting of broken bones, all performed with a quiet, focused determination. The treatments themselves were varied and often quite effective. Imagine the quiet preparation of remedies, grinding herbs with a mortar and pestle, mixing ointments, or brewing concoctions. The physician might administer herbal teas for internal ailments, apply poultices to soothe inflammations, or meticulously dress wounds with linen bandages soaked in honey. Pain relief was achieved through substances like willow bark or opium poppies, all dispensed with a careful hand and a quiet understanding of their effects. There was a holistic approach, recognizing the interplay between the body, mind, and spirit, and treatments often included incantations and prayers to the gods, a quiet acknowledgement of the spiritual dimension of healing. Surgical procedures, though rudimentary by modern standards, were performed with a surprising degree of skill. Imagine a quiet operating chamber, perhaps lit by oil lamps, where the physician, with steady hands, might set a fracture, drain an abscess, or even attempt trepanation. The tools, those simple bronze scalpels, forceps, drills, would be meticulously cleaned. The quiet tension in the room would be palpable, a shared understanding of the delicate nature of the work, punctuated by the soft sounds of tools, the controlled breathing of the patient, and the calm instructions of the physician. Post-operative care was also crucial, with careful wound dressing and monitoring to prevent infection, a quiet vigilance that lasted for days or weeks. The pharaoh himself, despite his divine status, was not immune to illness, and his health was of paramount importance for the stability of the kingdom. His physicians would be constantly attentive, providing preventive care, advising on diet, and administering treatments with the utmost care and discretion. Imagine the quiet, almost imperceptible presence of the royal physician during the pharaoh's daily routines. Always ready to address any ailment, their role essential for the continuous well-being of the divine ruler and by extension the entire land. Their advice on nutrition and general health was a quiet constant in the royal chambers. Beyond the physical, Egyptian medicine also acknowledged the psychological and spiritual dimensions of illness. Dreams were interpreted. Offerings were made to healing deities like Sekhmet or Imhotep. This holistic approach meant that healing was not just about the body, but about restoring balance to the entire being. Quiet harmony between the physical and the metaphysical. The physician's role was often as much a spiritual guide as a medical practitioner, offering quiet reassurance and comfort. The legacy of ancient Egyptian medicine is a quiet one, often overshadowed by their monumental architecture. Yet their practices laid some of the earliest foundations for what would become modern medicine, demonstrating a remarkable capacity for observation, rational thought, and systematic documentation. The silent wisdom contained within their medical papyri continues to impress scholars today, revealing a civilization that pursued healing with both scientific rigor and a profound sense of spiritual reverence. It was a practice rooted in quiet diligence, observation, and a deep respect for the fragility and resilience of human life. As we drift onward, letting the quiet journey continue, let us return to the very heart of ancient Egyptian life. Not just the physical toil, but the profound spiritual connection they held with the Nile River and its annual inundation. Imagine the time just after the floodwaters, the kite season, begin their slow retreat. The landscape, which for months was a vast, shimmering inland sea, now gradually reveals itself, covered in a rich, dark layer of silt. The air is heavy with the scent of damp earth, a unique, fertile aroma that signals renewal. This isn't just a geographical event, it's a sacred ritual, the profound blessing of the god Hapi, the personification of the Nile's life-giving power. The period of the flood's retreat was a time of quiet anticipation and deep gratitude. The farmers, who had perhaps spent the inundation maintaining tools, repairing homes, or working on monumental state projects, would now eagerly await the moment when the land became workable again. Their prayers to Hapi would not have been loud, desperate cries, but quiet, heartfelt offerings of thanks. Perhaps small handfuls of precious grain tossed into the receding waters, or murmured words of appreciation as they gazed upon the newly enriched soil. The very act of the flood was seen as a divine act, a benevolent gift that ensured their survival and prosperity. Imagine standing on the newly exposed land, the soft, yielding silt squishing gently beneath your bare feet. The water, still receding in shimmering sheets, would leave behind small pools, teeming with fish and amphibians, providing an easy source of food. The landscape would transform day by day, from a watery expanse to a rich, dark canvas waiting to be sown. The sunlight would catch the moisture, making the earth glisten, a quiet promise of future abundance. There's a tangible sense of fresh beginnings in the air, a quiet excitement that permeates the community as they prepare for the vital season of planting. The prayers to Hapi were deeply ingrained in their daily lives, woven into the fabric of their agricultural cycle. These weren't formal, rigid ceremonies performed only by priests, but often personal, quiet expressions of faith. A farmer might pause before beginning to prepare his field, offering a silent blessing to the river, acknowledging its enduring power. Families might gather along the banks, perhaps leaving small offerings of bread or flowers on the water's surface, watching them drift downstream, carrying their hopes and gratitude to the benevolent deity. The sound of the receding water itself, a gentle gurgle and lapping, would be a constant, soothing reminder of Happy's presence, a quiet hymn of renewal. The receding flood also created unique landscapes, forming small islands of dry land amidst the still present water. These areas would be quickly planted with quick-growing vegetables, providing sustenance until the main crops matured. Imagine the quiet ingenuity of adapting to the changing environment, careful observation of the water levels, the intuitive understanding of the land's subtle shifts. The pace of life, though soon to quicken with the planting season, still held a gentle deliberateness, a quiet reverence for the earth's natural rhythms. The concept of the Nile's inundation and Happy's role in it profoundly shaped their worldview. It taught them patience, resilience, and an absolute dependence on natural cycles. They understood that the flood was not something to be fought against, but something to be welcomed, to be embraced. It was a force that, though powerful, was ultimately benevolent, a constant source of life in an otherwise arid land. This deep understanding fostered a quiet acceptance of the natural order, a profound respect for the forces beyond their control. Even in their art and inscriptions, Hapi is often depicted not with dramatic flair, but as a plump, gentle figure, often holding offerings, symbolizing his generosity and the bounty he brought. His portrayal is one of quiet benevolence, a nurturing force rather than a fierce deity. This reflects the quiet, profound gratitude the Egyptians felt towards the river, recognizing it as the foundation of their entire civilization. So, as the last remnants of the floodwaters receded, leaving behind the precious black silt, the land would slowly begin to breathe again, ready for the seeds to be sown. The air, crisp and clear, would carry the earthy scent of new beginnings. The quiet prayers to Hapi, murmured and heartfelt, would drift over the fields. Mingling with the gentle rustle of reeds and the distant cry of a bird, a silent acknowledgement of the unbreakable bond between the ancient Egyptians and their sacred river, the very pulse of their enduring peace. Let us now turn to a remarkable figure who defied the quiet conventions of her time, not with loud proclamations, but with subtle, unwavering determination. Hatshepsut, one of the most successful female pharaohs of ancient Egypt. Imagine her, not in a grand dramatic setting, but perhaps in a quiet moment of contemplation in her palace, weighing the immense responsibilities of her office. Her reign, from approximately 1479 to 1458 BCE, during the New Kingdom, was a period of peace, prosperity, and unparalleled architectural achievement, a testament to her quiet yet profound leadership. Hatshepsut initially ruled as regent for her young stepson, Thutmose III. However, within a few years, she made the unprecedented decision to declare herself pharaoh, adopting the full titles and regalia of a male king. This was not a violent usurpation, but a carefully orchestrated and subtly legitimized transition, supported by powerful allies within the court and priesthood. Imagine the quiet discussions, the careful negotiations, the strategic maneuvering required to achieve such a profound shift in a deeply traditional patriarchal society. Her ascent to power was a testament to her quiet political acumen. To reinforce her legitimacy, Hatshepsut embarked on an ambitious program of self-representation. She often depicted herself in traditional male pharaonic attire, including the false beard, not out of a desire to be male, but to visually embody the quintessential image of a ruler, transcending gender to represent the divine office. Imagine the artists, working quietly and meticulously, carving her image into temple walls, subtly blending feminine features with masculine symbolism, creating an image of quiet authority and divine connection. These images conveyed power and stability, not a loud declaration of defiance. Her reign was marked by extensive building projects, a testament to her vision and the quiet prosperity of her time. Her most magnificent achievement is the Deir el-Bahari mortuary temple, nestled against the cliffs on the west bank of the Nile at Luxor. Imagine approaching this breathtaking structure, its multi-tiered terraces rising elegantly from the desert floor, colonnades of pillars casting long, serene shadows in the afternoon sun. It was designed to harmonize with the natural landscape, a quiet integration of human artifice and divine creation. The reliefs within depicted her divine birth, her coronation, and her expeditions, all in a quiet, majestic narrative style. One of her most famous undertakings was a peaceful trading expedition to the land of Punt, a mysterious region believed to be located along the coast of the Red Sea. This was not a military conquest, but a quiet demonstration of Egypt's economic strength and its desire for exotic goods. Imagine the quiet bustle of the fleet as it set sail, the gentle creak of the ships, the rhythmic splashing of oars, the hopeful murmurs of the sailors. The expedition brought back invaluable commodities: frankincense, myrrh, exotic trees, ebony, ivory, and even live animals. These riches were then quietly integrated into Egyptian society, enriching its temples and palaces, and demonstrating Hatshepsut's ability to bring abundance through peaceful means. Hatshepsut's legacy, however, faced a peculiar challenge after her death. For reasons still debated by scholars perhaps, a desire by Thutmose III to establish his own clear legacy, or a reaction against a female pharaoh, Guy. By later rulers, many of her monuments and inscriptions were systematically defaced or erased. Her images were chiseled away, her cartouches removed. This was a quiet, deliberate act of historical revisionism, an attempt to erase her from the official record. Yet, despite this attempted obliteration, Hatshepsut's remarkable reign could not be entirely erased. Her monuments, though damaged, endured, and the sheer scale of her achievements spoke volumes. Imagine the quiet efforts of later archaeologists, meticulously piecing together the fragmented evidence, slowly uncovering the truth of her remarkable rule. Her story, once buried under layers of stone and silence, has quietly re-emerged, a testament to her enduring impact and the power of historical truth. Hatshepsut stands as a quiet icon of strength and resilience, a pharaoh who ruled with dignity and foresight, leaving behind a legacy of peace and architectural splendor. Her reign reminds us that power can be exercised not just through military might, but through quiet diplomacy, economic prosperity, and a profound connection to the cultural and spiritual heart of a nation.
Ow.
Her story, unfolding quietly over the centuries, invites us to contemplate the subtle ways in which individuals can reshape history, leaving an indelible, albeit sometimes erased, mark on the silent sands of time. Let us now turn to one of the most ubiquitous and quietly significant symbols in ancient Egyptian culture, an emblem deeply intertwined with their understanding of creation, rebirth, and the journey to the afterlife: the scarab beetle. imagine not the modern insect, but the profound spiritual reverence with which this humble creature was regarded, its silent actions in the desert inspiring some of the most enduring beliefs of a civilization. It is a symbol that quietly speaks of hope, renewal, and eternal life. The ancient Egyptians observed the dung beetle meticulously. They noticed how it diligently rolled a ball of dung across the ground, often burying it. And from this buried ball, new beetles would seemingly emerge. To the Egyptians, this was not merely a biological process. It was a profound metaphor for self-creation and spontaneous regeneration. They linked this act directly to the sun god Khepri, the manifestation of Ra at dawn, who was believed to roll the sun disk across the sky each morning, just as the scarab rolled its ball. Imagine the quiet awe in their observations, seeing a divine reflection in the movements of a small insect, a silent testament to the interconnectedness of all life. Because of this association, the scarab became a potent symbol of rebirth, resurrection, and the continuity of life. Scarab amulets, often carved from steatite, faience, or semi-precious stones, were incredibly popular, worn by both the living and the dead. Imagine the quiet crafting of these small, detailed objects, each one imbued with protective and regenerative power. They were often inscribed on their flat undersides with names, titles, prayers, or protective spells. Wearing a scarab was believed to confer good luck, provide protection against evil, and ensure a successful journey into the afterlife. Their presence was a quiet reassurance, a tangible link to the divine forces of renewal. Perhaps the most significant use of the scarab was as a heart scarab, placed over the heart of the deceased during mummification. This particular type of scarab was typically larger, often made of dark stone, and inscribed with a spell from the Book of the Dead, specifically Chapter 30b. Imagine the quiet solemnity of the mummification ritual, the careful placement of this sacred object over the body's spiritual core. The spell was a plea to the heart, urging it not to bear witness against the deceased during the judgment in the Hall of Two Truths, where the heart would be weighed against the feather of Mat, representing truth and justice. The scarab's presence was a quiet safeguard, a hopeful plea for a peaceful passage. The journey to the afterlife, as envisioned by the Egyptians, was a complex and often perilous one, fraught with challenges and divine tribunals. The heart scarab was seen as a crucial protective charm, ensuring that the deceased's heart, the seat of intellect, emotion, and memory, would not betray them by revealing any misdeeds committed during their earthly life. Imagine the quiet anxiety surrounding this ultimate judgment, and the profound comfort brought by the belief that the sacred beetle would intercede, ensuring a favorable outcome. It offered a silent promise of eternal bliss. Beyond its funerary context, the scarab was also used in daily life as seals for documents, jewelry, and offerings. Imagine the quiet pressing of a scarab into wet clay, leaving its impression a silent signature of authority or ownership. These small, ubiquitous objects quietly permeated every aspect of Egyptian society. From the grandest temples to the humblest homes, a constant reminder of the cycles of creation and renewal. Their quiet presence was a constant affirmation of their beliefs. The endurance of the scarab symbol through millennia speaks to the profound resonance it held for the ancient Egyptians. It represented a fundamental truth about their world, that life emerges from seeming nothingness, that death is not an end, but a transformation, and that the universe is governed by cyclical patterns of renewal. Its quiet persistence across countless artifacts from monumental temples to tiny amulets, reflects its deep integration into their collective consciousness. So, as you imagine the quiet desert landscape, consider the small, busy scarab beetle diligently rolling its ball under the hot sun. In its quiet, unassuming actions, the ancient Egyptians found a profound message of hope and eternal life, silent testament to the interconnectedness of the mundane and the divine. The scarab beetle, a humble creature, became a powerful and enduring symbol of their deep spiritual understanding. A quiet whisper of resurrection carried on the desert winds, guiding souls to the eternal realm. Meanwhile, elsewhere in their contrasting society, within the ordered and disciplined world of the elite, existed the highly respected figure of the royal scribe. Imagine the quiet atmosphere of a scribal school or a temple library, a place where the scratch of reed pens on papyrus, the soft rustle of scrolls, and the low murmurs of instruction were the dominant sounds. This was a world of meticulous learning, where the pursuit of knowledge was a sacred endeavor, conducted with a quiet dedication that shaped the very foundation of Egyptian administration and intellectual life. Becoming a scribe was a pathway to upward mobility, a silent ascent from the ranks of common laborers or farmers into the privileged elite. It required years of rigorous training, beginning in childhood. Imagine a young boy, perhaps from a respectable family, sitting cross-legged on a mat, diligently copying hieroglyphic texts under the watchful eye of a master scribe. The lessons were repetitive, demanding patience and precision. They would learn to form the intricate signs, to mix their inks, to prepare their papyrus, and to master the complex grammar and vocabulary. The air would be filled with the subtle scent of ink and papyrus, and the quiet concentration of many young minds at work. The tools of a scribe were simple, yet elegant. A wooden palette with cakes of black and red ink, a small water pot for mixing, and a bundle of carefully cut reed pens. Imagine the quiet pride of a scribe in his well-maintained tools, each one an extension of his skill. The act of writing itself was a meditative one. The careful dip of the reed pen into the ink, the smooth glide across the papyrus surface, the precise formation of each hieroglyph or hieratic character. There was a quiet artistry in their precision, a seamless blend of craft and intellect. The role of a royal scribe was multifaceted. They were the record keepers of the state, documenting everything from grain harvests and tax collections to legal proceedings and royal decrees. Imagine the quiet precision with which they would record the annual yield of the Nile, ensuring the fair distribution of resources, or meticulously drafting the intricate wording of a treaty. Their work ensured the smooth functioning of the vast Egyptian bureaucracy, a silent, unseen force that underpinned the entire kingdom. Their accurate record-keeping was crucial for the stability and prosperity of the land. Beyond administration, scribes were also the custodians of knowledge. They copied ancient religious texts, transcribed myths, recorded historical events, and even composed poetry and stories. Imagine the quiet hours spent in dimly lit temple libraries, carefully preserving the wisdom of their ancestors, ensuring that knowledge was passed down from generation to generation. The act of copying was not just transcription, it was a profound act of reverence, a silent communion with the authors of old. The very silence of these libraries was conducive to deep learning and focused contemplation, the perfect environment for the growth of profound intellectual understanding. Many scribes also served as tutors to royal children and the children of high-ranking officials. Imagine the quiet, patient instruction imparted to these young minds, shaping the next generation of leaders. They would teach not just reading and writing, but also the principles of math, ethics, and the duties of leadership. It was a holistic education designed to instill not just knowledge, but also wisdom and a sense of moral responsibility. The relationship between a scribe and his pupil was often one of quiet respect and deep mentorship. The prestige of the scribal profession was immense. Scribes were exempt from manual labor and military service, enjoying a comfortable living and often rising to high positions within the government or priesthood. Their status was a quiet acknowledgement of the power of literacy and intellectual skill in a society where only a small percentage of the population could read and write. They were the custodians of the written word, the voice of the past, and the architects of the future, all through their quiet, diligent work. The quiet pursuit of knowledge, the meticulous recording of details, and the preservation of ancient wisdom by the scribes formed the backbone of ancient Egyptian civilization. Their enduring legacy is evident in the vast corpus of texts that survive. From the grand narratives of the pharaohs to the humble letters of ordinary citizens, all preserved through the quiet dedication of these unsung heroes of literacy. Their work reminds us of the profound power of the written word and the quiet, enduring impact of those who dedicate their lives to its mastery and preservation. As we drift onward, letting the quiet journey continue, let us immerse ourselves once more in the daily life of the ancient Egyptian farmer. But this time focusing on the intimate world of the village and the quiet traditions that bound its people together. Imagine, beyond the solitary work in the fields, the collective pulse of a small, mud-brick village nestled close to the fertile banks of the Nile. The air would carry a faint, comforting scent of wood smoke from cooking fires, the earthy aroma of drying mud, and the distant, subtle perfume of the river. Life here was simple, dictated by the cycles of the seasons and the close bonds of kinship, a profound sense of shared existence. The homes, typically built of sun-dried mud bricks, were humble yet functional. Imagine their thick walls keeping the interiors cool during the hot days and retaining warmth during the cool nights. Furnishings would be sparse. Woven mats for sleeping, perhaps a low wooden stool, clay pots for storage and cooking, and simple woven baskets. The family unit was the core, with multiple generations often living under one roof or in close proximity. The sounds of the village were soft and organic, the quiet clucking of chickens, the distant lowing of cattle, the gentle murmur of conversations drifting from open doorways, the occasional soft laughter of children playing in the dusty paths. There was a quiet hum of communal life, a sense of belonging that cradled each individual. Mealtimes were communal, often taking place outdoors in the cooler evenings. Imagine families gathered around a simple fire, sharing flatbread vegetables from their gardens, fish caught from the Nile, and perhaps some lentils or beans. The food was simple yet nourishing, a direct product of their labor and the river's generosity. The conversations would be quiet, recounting the day's work, sharing small triumphs or concerns, passing on stories and wisdom from elders to the younger generation. The quiet act of breaking bread together was a profound ritual, strengthening the bonds of community and family, a silent testament to their shared survival. Beyond their homes and fields, the village would have a central gathering place. perhaps a small open square or a shaded area under a large tree. Here, stories would be shared, news from nearby settlements exchanged, and quiet decisions made about communal tasks like digging irrigation ditches or repairing a damaged levee. Imagine the elders sitting together, their voices low and steady, recounting tales of past floods, sharing agricultural wisdom, or narrating ancient myths that had been passed down orally for generations. These were not dramatic performances, but quiet transmissions of cultural memory, reinforcing their shared identity and connecting them to their ancestors. The rhythm of their lives also included quiet moments of leisure and celebration. After the harvest, there might be small local festivals, not grand spectacles, but simple gatherings where people would share food, play simple games, and perhaps listen to the quiet strumming of a lute or the gentle rhythm of a hand drum. These were moments of quiet joy, a communal sigh of relief after the arduous work of the harvest, a time to replenish their spirits and strengthen their social ties. The laughter would be soft, the music gentle, adding to the serene atmosphere of contentment. Even their spiritual practices in the village were often quiet and personal. While grand temples existed, many villagers would offer small, personal prayers to household gods or local deities, perhaps leaving small offerings at a simple shrine in their home or a sacred tree. Imagine the quiet reverence in these personal acts of devotion, a direct and intimate connection to the divine in their daily lives. The belief in a benevolent universe, governed by gods who looked upon them with favor, provided a quiet source of comfort and stability. The passing of a loved one was met with quiet, communal grief, and meticulously performed rituals, ensuring a peaceful journey to the afterlife. The entire village would participate, offering comfort and support to the bereaved family. The preparations for burial, the quiet procession to the local necropolis, and the subsequent offerings were all acts of profound respect, a silent acknowledgement of life's cycles and the enduring hope for eternal existence. The quiet presence of the community during these times was a powerful expression of their solidarity. The village life of ancient Egyptian farmers was a tapestry woven from quiet routines, shared labors, and enduring traditions. It was a life lived in profound harmony with the land and the river, a testament to resilience, cooperation, and a deep connection to the spiritual realm. The quiet sounds of their daily existence, the murmur of voices, the rustle of the wind through palm fronds, the gentle lapping of the Nile, all combined to create a sense of timeless peace, an echo of quiet contentment that still resonates through the millennia. Let us now turn to a pharaoh whose reign, though relatively brief, brought about a quiet yet profound spiritual revolution that echoed through the very foundations of Egyptian society. Akhenaten. Imagine him not as a thunderous reformer, but as a man of deep, perhaps even obsessive, conviction, whose quiet belief in a single supreme deity challenged millennia of polytheistic tradition. His reign from approximately 1353 to 1336 BCE during the New Kingdom was a period of radical change, initiated by a single quiet will. Born Imhotep IV, he initially followed the traditional religious practices. However, early in his reign, he began to champion the worship of a previously minor solar deity, the Aten, represented simply as the sun disked with rays ending in hands, offering life. This was not a gradual shift. It was a quiet, determined escalation of devotion that soon became revolutionary. He changed his name to Akhenaten, meaning effective for the Aten, publicly signaling his absolute dedication. Imagine the quiet murmurs of surprise and perhaps concern among the priests of Amun, the dominant state god, as the pharaoh subtly yet firmly began to elevate this new deity. Akhenaten's heresy, as it was later considered, was a quiet but radical move towards monotheism, or, more accurately, monolatry. He began to suppress the worship of other gods, particularly Amun, whose powerful priesthood had become a significant political force. Imagine the quiet removal of Amun's idols, the closing of his temples, the chiseling out of his name from monuments. These were not violent acts, but deliberate, systematic efforts to dismantle the established religious order, all under the quiet authority of the pharaoh. The air would have been thick with unspoken tension, as centuries of tradition were subtly undermined. To emphasize his break with the past, Akhenaten made an astonishing decision. He abandoned the ancient capital of Thebes and built an entirely new city, Kedon Horizon of the Aten, in a previously undeveloped desert basin. Imagine the quiet frenzy of construction in this pristine location. The meticulous planning of temples, palaces, and residences dedicated solely to the Aten. The architecture was different, open to the sky, allowing the direct rays of the sun to bathe the altars, a stark contrast to the dark, enclosed sanctuaries of traditional temples. This new city was a physical manifestation of his quiet spiritual vision, a clean slate for a new religious order. Life in Akhenaten, as depicted in the art of the period, seems to reflect a quiet domesticity and naturalism, distinct from the rigid, formal art of previous eras. The royal family, Akhenaten, his beautiful chief queen, Nefertiti, and their daughters are often shown in intimate, relaxed poses, basking in the sun's rays. Their elongated features, a stylistic innovation reflecting the new religious focus. Imagine them in quiet moments of family life, perhaps playing with their children, their faces serene under the Aten's benevolent light. This quieter, more naturalistic art served to subtly reinforce the personal and accessible nature of the Aten. Akhenaten's devotion to the Aten was profound. He composed hymns, most famously the great hymn to the Aten, a beautiful poetic work praising the sun disk as the sole creator and sustainer of life. Imagine him in quiet contemplation, composing these verses, expressing a deep personal connection to his chosen deity. These hymns reflect a singular focus, a quiet theological precision that was unprecedented in Egyptian religion. He saw the Aten not just as a god, but as the universal life force present in all things. However, his quiet revolution was largely confined to the royal court and the new capital. For the common people, who had worshipped a multitude of gods for millennia, this abrupt shift was likely unsettling or simply ignored. After Akhenaten's death, his reforms were swiftly undone. His successors, including the young Tutankhaten, restored the traditional polytheistic religion. Akhenaten's city was abandoned, his monuments dismantled, and his name erased from official records. A quiet, deliberate act of damnatio memoria, an attempt to blot him out of history. He became known as the enemy, or the heretic king, his legacy quietly suppressed for centuries. Yet, despite this attempted erasure, Akhenaten's reign remains one of the most quietly fascinating periods in ancient Egyptian history. It demonstrates the immense power of an individual's conviction to challenge deeply entrenched traditions even if only temporarily. His spiritual revolution, though ultimately reversed, left a subtle imprint, a quiet whisper of a path not taken. A moment when ancient Egypt almost embraced a singular divine vision. His story reminds us of the quiet yet profound ways in which belief can shape an entire civilization, even if only for a brief, intense flicker in the vast expanse of time. Let us now turn to one of the most sacred and quietly inspiring archaeological sites in ancient Egypt, the Valley of the Kings. Imagine not a bustling, tourist-filled place, but a secluded, sun-baked wadi, or valley, on the west bank of the Nile near Luxor. Here, for almost 500 years, from the 16th to the 11th century BCE, during the New Kingdom, pharaohs and powerful nobles chose to build their eternal resting places, not in monumental pyramids, but in elaborate, hidden underground tombs. The very air of the valley seems to hold a quiet reverence, a profound sense of timelessness. The decision to move away from pyramids and towards hidden rock-cut tombs was born from a quiet acknowledgement of vulnerability. Despite their immense size, the pyramids had proved irresistible targets for tomb robbers. The intention in the Valley of the Kings was to secure the royal burials, to allow the pharaohs to enjoy their eternal repose undisturbed. Imagine the careful selection of sites, the discreet placement of entrances, the quiet hope that these hidden chambers would preserve the bodies and treasures for eternity. The goal was profound, undisturbed silence. The construction of these tombs was a quiet, arduous undertaking. Artisans, stonemasons, and laborers would work tirelessly, chipping away at the hard limestone rock, creating intricate passages, chambers, and burial shafts deep within the earth. Imagine the rhythmic tap, tap-tap of chisels echoing in the confined spaces, the hushed conversations among the workmen, the constant removal of debris. The work was precise, following elaborate plans, with artists quietly preparing the walls for decoration even as the digging continued. The atmosphere would be one of focused industry, driven by the profound belief in the afterlife. Once the tomb structure was complete, it would be transformed into a vibrant, colorful representation of the deceased's journey through the underworld and their peaceful assimilation with the gods. The walls were covered with exquisite paintings and reliefs depicting scenes from religious texts like the Book of the Dead, the Amduat, and the Book of Gates. Imagine the quiet artistry involved, scribes meticulously outlining the scenes, then painters filling them with brilliant pigments derived from minerals, their brushes moving with quiet precision. The colors, vibrant even after millennia, seemed to glow in the dim light of the tomb, each figure and symbol speaking of a profound spiritual narrative. Each tomb was designed not just as a burial place, but as a miniature cosmos, a pathway to rebirth. The scenes on the walls were not merely decorative, they were functional, providing the deceased with the magical knowledge and protective spells necessary to navigate the dangers of the underworld and successfully reach the blessed fields of Aru, the Egyptian paradise. Imagine the pharaoh, in his silent slumber, surrounded by these powerful images, guiding his soul on its eternal journey. The quiet power of these visual narratives was profound. The secrecy surrounding the tombs was paramount. After the pharaoh's burial, the entrance would be carefully sealed and camouflaged, often with rubble and rock leaving no discernible trace. Imagine the quiet, solemn procession, the final farewells, and the subsequent efforts to erase any sign of entry, ensuring the eternal repose of the divine ruler. The valley would then return to its natural, quiet state, keeping its sacred secrets hidden from the outside world, save for the occasional, inevitable intrusion of tomb robbers throughout history. For centuries, these tombs lay hidden, their secrets largely undisturbed. Then, in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a quiet revolution in archaeology began. Excavators, with painstaking patience and meticulous care, began to systematically explore the valley. The most famous discovery, of course, was Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922 by Howard Carter, a find that electrified the world with its unparalleled preservation. Imagine the quiet tension of that moment, the careful removal of debris, the first glimpse into a sealed chamber, the realization that an almost untouched royal burial lay before them. It was a profound moment of connection with a long-lost past, a silent revelation. The Valley of the Kings remains a place of profound quiet and contemplation. As you imagine walking through its sun-drenched paths or descending into the cool, silent depths of a tomb, you can almost feel the presence of those who once sought eternal rest here. The vibrant art, the intricate symbolism, the sheer dedication to the afterlife all speak of a civilization deeply attuned to the mysteries of existence and the hope for rebirth. It is a quiet testament to the enduring human desire to conquer death, to find peace beyond the veil, and to leave a lasting, silent legacy etched into the very heart of the earth. Meanwhile, elsewhere in their contrasting society, beyond the grand monuments and state affairs, existed a more personal and often quiet dimension of the pharaoh's life, their pets and animal companions. Imagine for a moment the serene chambers of a royal palace, not filled with the clamor of crowds, but with the quiet patter of paws, the soft rustle of a bird's wings, or the gentle purr of a beloved feline. These animals were not just decorative, they held significant symbolic meaning, offered companionship, and were sometimes even considered sacred, reflecting a quiet intimacy that balanced the pharaoh's divine public persona. Dogs were among the earliest and most cherished companions. Various breeds, from sleek hounds resembling modern greyhounds to smaller, terrier-like dogs, were kept. Imagine a pharaoh, perhaps, in a rare moment of solitude, gently stroking the head of a loyal dog resting at his feet. These dogs were not only companions, but also skilled hunters, accompanying the pharaoh on quiet excursions into the desert or guarding the palace with a watchful, silent vigilance. Their loyalty was deeply valued, and they were often depicted in tomb scenes, sometimes even given elaborate burials themselves, a quiet testament to the bond shared between human and animal. The soft panting of a dog, the gentle wag of its tail, would have been comforting sounds in the vastness of the royal residence. Cats, of course, held a uniquely revered position in ancient Egypt. Associated with goddesses like Bastet, they were considered sacred animals, embodying grace, fertility, and protection. Imagine a sleek, elegant cat moving with quiet dignity through the palace, perhaps sunning itself in a patch of light from a high window. The pharaohs, like many Egyptians, undoubtedly cherished these animals for their calm presence, their quiet hunting prowess, and their perceived ability to ward off evil. The soft purr of a cat, a gentle brush against the leg, would have provided moments of quiet solace and a sense of domestic peace amidst the pressures of royal life. Cats were often mummified and given respectful burials, a silent tribute to their sacred status and their role as beloved companions. Beyond dogs and cats, the pharaohs also kept a variety of other animals, some exotic, brought from distant lands as gifts or through trade. Imagine the quiet grandeur of a royal menagerie, perhaps a private garden enclosure where gazelles grazed peacefully, or monkeys chattered softly from tree branches. Birds of various species, from falcons to colorful parrots, might have been kept in ornate cages, their gentle calls adding to the subtle symphony of the palace grounds. These animals not only provided visual splendor, but also a quiet connection to the natural world, a reminder of the vastness of the pharaoh's dominion and his role as custodian of all living things. Even wild animals, captured and sometimes tamed, held a special fascination. Lions, powerful symbols of royalty and strength, were occasionally kept, though perhaps more as symbolic representations of power than as intimate pets. Imagine the quiet awe of witnessing a tamed lion, its powerful presence softened by a surprising docility, perhaps walking calmly by the pharaoh's side during a procession. The low rumble of a lion's purr, if such a bond was truly formed, would have been a sound of immense quiet power. The very act of caring for these animals, of providing them with food, water, and shelter, was a quiet, daily ritual that connected the pharaoh to the rhythms of life. It was a private sphere where the weight of divine rule could perhaps be momentarily set aside, replaced by the simple, profound connection between a human and an animal. These relationships offered a unique kind of companionship, one that transcended the complexities of court politics and human interactions. Animals offered quiet loyalty, unconditional affection, and a non-judgmental presence, providing a soothing balm to the immense responsibilities carried by the ruler. The depictions of pets in royal tombs and artwork are not grand, dramatic scenes, but often intimate vignettes. A dog under a chair, a cat observing a bird, a monkey reaching for a piece of fruit. These quiet details offer a glimpse into the softer, more human side of the pharaohs, revealing that even at the apex of power, the quiet comfort and companionship of animals were deeply valued. These silent, furry, or feathered friends provided a gentle presence, a constant source of quiet joy and unwavering loyalty in the lives of those who held immense power, reminding us of the enduring human need for connection, even across the species barrier. And so, we have gently reached the end of this quiet journey. This was the final chapter of our story for tonight. We hope it brought you peace, calm, and a step closer to restful sleep. Thank you for listening. We'll meet again in the next video. Until then, sleep well.